just popped my neck and it felt really good. I just realized I changed my Twitch name, but I never updated the artwork to change it. So I'm wondering if maybe I should change my username back to that to be more generic, or try and edit that. Hey, Tim's here, and the ad is over, so I can hit this button now. Oh, hey, and the grid doesn't show up. Cool. And I can like, this is something cool I can do too. I can do this. We'll do this in a minute because I want to fucking, let me click the thing. I can like do this and just be green screen. Like, it's not even green screen. It's like, there's green screen mode, but then there's this. And then I can do this. I can just turn myself off. I just realized I could just turn myself off. Yeah, I know. You can't see me, but hi, Tim. I can see you guys. Oh, I stepped too fast. I'm a little dehydrated. I am drinking water. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of VR chat. Like I said, I think last week's stream, because I had Az and their partner in chat. I'm gonna go and like I said, you know what? They asked me if I did it. And I've been wanting to do it for a while. If I streamed in VR chat, and I'm trying it just to see if it's a thing that I want to do. There's me. Now I turn myself back on. I'm actually sitting in a bar in game, but I was like, look, I can do this, and I can like. Oh, the camera's not going to do that. I have to. All right, let's fix the camera. Let's fix the behavior of the camera. Auto look at me. There. Now it's just kind of locked there, and I can do the whole weatherman forecast thing. If I come over here and do this, and then I can stand more in the center, and there we go. Now I can weatherman forecast and be like, so this is the part of the robot that broke. This is the part of the robot that didn't work. Yeah, the characters. Yeah, so the world I'm in is actually doesn't have that much lighting, and I didn't realize that until like I got everything set up, and I'm like, oh, there's not a lot of lighting here. But yeah, like I could go to other worlds, but then I have to get the camera set up again, and I don't know how much of a pain in the ass that would be. Yeah, and in fact, if I do this, let's see, we go mask. I'm sitting in a bar, and if I go back to behavior, look at me, then it's following me, and then I can. Fusion is a very light world. I can walk over here, and the camera will stay there. The camera will stay there, but I can walk over here. I can walk all the way over here and be like airplane. But no, I want to stay behind the bar. Yeah, it looks great for the bar. Again, this is the first time I'm doing it, so it's all a lot of learning. But I can do this. Go back. I do that. I think the next. Nope. Yeah, of course. I'm just saying because I don't know what you can and can't see on your end. I mean, very cool. Yeah. I mean, so here's what I have. I'll tell you what I can see that you guys can't see. So I'm obviously seeing this in first person. Put the camera. Put the camera more right there. Keep it at look at me. And keep myself in the grid. So basically, what I have is I have two views of what the camera sees. Right? I have basically. Well, you can't see. I'm holding it in my hand. Actually, maybe I can. Maybe I can show this. No, I can't. I can't show this. But basically, I have what looks like a cell phone in my hand, and that's what I'm using to manipulate and control the camera, and I can see what the camera sees. And then I have floating in front of me, I have just Streamlabs as if I was sitting on my computer screen. So I can see chat, I can see my audio bars, I can see the timers and everything, and then I can see a live view of all of these stuff. So, yeah. And then when I do the toggle here, when I go doop, and I do the mask and I turn off the world, I can see Fusion 360. So again, I can do that weatherman thing where I can be like, this screw right, this wheel right here fell off. So, I can turn on the UI. Oh yeah, I can turn on the UI. And you can see the phone thingy that I'm holding. Yeah. And then I can toggle different modes and stuff with the camera. But yeah, this is also the avatar that I have been working on for myself in this game. And I'm happy with it. And I can also do this and go blue. The one problem I have, and it's the weirdest first world problem. So I can pull up Windows screens, right? I can look at my desktop when I'm in VR, which is actually kind of nice. I could be playing VR chat, or I could be playing Flight Sim, or I could be playing Elite Dangerous, or whatever, and I can just pull up a window and have it float there and be watching YouTube or Netflix or whatever. The one problem I have is I can't interact with Discord. For whatever reason, when I'm in VR and I click on the little thing and I go to desktop mode and I click on Discord, I can't click on any of the channels. I can't click on anything. I can't minimize it. I can't close it. I can't nothing. I can manipulate any other program. I can pull up Spotify. I can post on Facebook if I wanted to. But it's it doesn't. Discord is the one where it's nah, not gonna work. So, it is what it is. Actually, I wonder if I have... How do I... Oh, that's what I do. Okay. I also can't, really properly manipulate this screen easily. So it's I'm trying to move some screens around still. Just trying to get the vibe and the feel of how I want to do this setup. But yeah, so been playing VR chat, and I hang out with a group called the Purple Donut, and they host sessions all the time. In fact, I'm now a staff member over there. So when I'm not working on robots at work or working on robots at home, or doing my once a week stream, I've been playing VR chat and playing Prison Escape and hanging out at a bar and everything. And honestly, I feel like it's I don't even feel, I know I have quantifiable proof that this sitting here playing VR chat and drinking a beer and hanging out with my friends is cheaper than going to the bar every once a week. Because, and this is some true facts, and here's what I did wrong. I'm getting on a tangent here. Here's what I did wrong. There's this bar top in front of me. I don't know if you guys can see it on stream. If I do this, nope. Oh, actually. Yeah, if I do that, yeah, there's a bar top here in front of me. I made the mistake of positioning myself so I'm standing with plenty of room to reach forward, but my table where my beer is over here. So it's oh man, I would like a drink. Reaches over here and grabs my beer that's next to me. Yeah, Tim. So I didn't even have to. I didn't even have to do the math. I didn't even have to do the math because the only bar that I really go to in town uses an app called Smart Tab, and I can open and close my tab right there on the phone. I could just look and see how much lifetime that I have spent at that bar. And I looked this morning, or not this morning. I looked this evening when I came home from work. Am I actually standing now? Yes, I'm actually standing. Like, it hurts my knees like motherfucker because I blew out my knee, but whatever. I have two things that help me when I'm playing VR chat and I stand for like 6 hours playing. I have vinyl flooring, which is hard, but I put down like some camp pad on the floor. So I have a nice soft squishy space, but also like I can feel the edge of that camp pad when I step on it. So I know I'm at the edge of my safe play area. I also put on like my thicker socks, so I've got more padding, even more padding on my feet there. And then I will sometimes even put on my like big fluffy, my big soft like house shoes, slippers, whatever. But yeah, no, so I looked it up. I looked up Smart Tab, right? And I can view how much I've spent at each venue that I've used the app, which is only one. It's only one bar that I've used Smart Tab at because no other bar that I go to uses Smart Tab. But yeah, I looked it up, Tim. I have spent in the 3.5, 4 years that I have been using Smart Tab, I have spent $1,956.45 at Millennium Fandom. I've spent almost $2,000 in 3 years at Millennium Fandom. That doesn't include the cost of the Uber to and from the bar. But I was thinking about it. I was like, well, let's say I wanted to go to the bar right now. I wanted to go to the bar tonight. They're not open on Tuesdays, but let's say I wanted to go anyways. If I wanted to Uber, it would be $25. Right, it would be between $20 and $30 to Uber from my house to the bar. Then I'm going to spend about $30, $40 on drinks, and then another $25 to $30 on the way home. So I'm looking at spending anywhere between $60 and $90 to go to the bar for one night, right? Now, yes, this VR headset is a $400 VR headset. It is the I'm rocking the original Quest 2, the one you guys have seen me whenever I play Elite Dangerous. It's the same headset. I haven't gotten a new one since the pandemic. But yes, the VR headset, $400. And then I do have age verification through VR Chat, which is like a $10 a month subscription, but like it's $10. I play this game enough, I can justify it. But then it's like, all right, well, I want to hang out with my friends. I want to hang out with my friends in VR Chat and drink a beer. I can go pick up a 6-pack of beer on my way home from work for $10, $15. Come home, not have to pay for Uber, not have to pay for the bar, not have to pay for Uber a second time when I'm driving home. And then for like, oh, if I'm not feeling it, I can have a beer or two. I'm not feeling it, I can log off and I'm already home. Whereas if I'm at the bar and I'm not feeling it, it's like, great, now I got to sit here and wait for an Uber. Yeah, using the VR headset for other stuff like playing Elite Dangerous, DCS, Flight Sim, and also I've had this headset for 5 years. So in that 5 years, I've gotten my $400, of use out of it. It still has a ton of life in it. I just last week started getting very minor, sporadic stick drift, but it's like it comes and goes, and it's not like, oh, I'm drifting to the left side, or to the right slowly. It's like I'll be sitting here and all of a sudden my character will just jump to the right, and I think it was actually not even stick drift. I don't even think it was stick drift. I'm kind of hoping that Azeroth and their partner will jump into chat, because I know they wanted to talk robots the last time, and I'm waiting. I want to talk about my robot fighting over the weekend. I'm waiting for them to maybe pop into chat. If they pop in, then cool. If not, I'll wait a couple more minutes. But yeah, I'll pop on my neck. I think I am about to spend a lot more money on VR, because I've been playing it playing VR chat so much that's full body tracking is expensive, but would be nice. And then I could properly track myself. Because right now, the only thing that the game is tracking is my hand position, you know, all this, and my head position. It doesn't know where the rest of my body is. It doesn't know that I'm standing on one foot. But if I had full body tracking, it would know that, which this game supports. And I kind of want it because, like, last weekend, it was Thursday. Last Thursday, the group that I'm in, the Purple Donut, did a crossover event with another big group, and it was just like, we got as many people into one instance as it could hold. I think there was actually like, I think that instance could hold like 60 people, and we were at like 58 people when I joined. And I was bartending. I ended up being a bartender. So I'm sitting there like actually making drinks and everything, but I was like, man, it would be so much better if I had full body tracking, because then like people could actually see me like doing like all the fancy mixing stuff that I was doing. Where's my drink? I realize I'm standing right at the back end edge of my play space, so I gotta like move some stuff. Some of this stuff doesn't really move with me, so I gotta if you see me just randomly reaching around and moving my hand like this, it's because like I gotta reposition that camera. It depends on so how much does full body tracking cost? It really depends on what system you're going with. I'm looking at going with the slime trackers because they're a little cheaper and they're open source, and you can get a version of the slime trackers that is basically a do-it-yourself kit where they send you the tracker itself, and then you have to 3D print your own case and everything for it. So that's kind of the one I'm looking at. But the price of the slime tracker, there's different tiers. So like there's the cheapest tier, which is like $165, and that will track your waist, your knees, and your feet. But it won't track like foot rotation, it'll just track like foot position. And that's the 5-in-1 set. Yeah, which is like their baseline set. The one I'm looking at is the $350 set that is like the full. So I would have ankle, feet, knee, hip, elbow tracking. But I also I'm looking at getting the cheaper version of that that's like they just send you the hardware. And like there's different systems that do different things. Like the Steam VR tracking is very expensive, but it's very accurate. But it has the problem of you have to have the lighthouses set up around the room, and if anything blocks the tracker, you lose tracking. The Slime VR, and the reason why I'm looking at that one is because it's IMU based, inertial measurement based. So what it does is it calibrates to a 0 point, and then when it moves, it can tell how much it moved using accelerometers. What's nice about that is you don't need base stations or anything. It has a little battery in there. You just charge the batteries up, and then they can last. I think they last like 16 hours on a single charge, is what I think I've read in the past. But you put them on, calibrate, and then you don't have to worry about blocking anything. So like if I was sitting here and I'm like, man, I'm kind of cold, I want to throw a blanket over my shoulders and sit on the couch and watch a movie with my friends, or watch, I actually did this a couple months ago. I sat in VR chat in a world where I could put like a massive screen up and watched NHL with a couple of my friends. But I could like throw a blanket over myself and the trackers would still be tracking. Whereas the tracking in like the Valve Index system, which that's a $2,000 system, that one, if you cover up the tracker, you lose it. So yeah, like the slime trackers, you can buy them like fully assembled kit, or you can buy the DIY kit. And I'm thinking of buying the DIY kit and then like doing the really dumb thing of finishing my Halo armor and then putting all the trackers in my Halo armor. So then it'd be like, alright guys, I'm gonna play VR chat, put on like all of this armor, and then hold on, I gotta find it. Like put on all of that armor and then just be like, sup guys? Yeah, full body tracking built into the armor, bro. That would be cool, but also like it gets hot. Even I have my air conditioning set to 72 degrees, and just like I'm sitting here in a t-shirt and blue jeans, and I'm like, I'm a little warm just wearing my headset. I would die of heat exhaustion wearing my armor all day. Because usually when I play VR chat, I do play for like 5-6 hours at a time. I think the longest VR chat session I've played was 9 hours, and it was like a Saturday afternoon. I just logged in. Because like one of my friends was like, hey, I want to hang out a little bit. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just kept world hopping. I logged in at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I just kept world hopping with like other friends and meeting up with different people and meeting new people. And the next thing I know, it's like 4 a.m. I'm like, guys, I'm going to bed. So my armor that I've been working on over the last couple of years, it is designed to have a fan in it, in the torso, to at least blow air up and down my back. I haven't finished the fan because I haven't finished the armor. It's one of those things where I only have one 3D printer, and I only have so much time in the day, and I have robots. So it's like I have all these projects I want to work on, and I can't work on them because of my fucking goddamn robots. Although my mom and I were talking about it because my mom was in town over the weekend, and we were talking about it, and she's like, oh, well, why can't you print nylon parts for your robot? And I was like, well, because my printer doesn't... my printer can run nylon. I'd have to get an enclosure for it, but I don't know how well it would work, and I don't want a big enclosure, like fabric enclosure, especially since I have a cat that's probably going to eat the enclosure. And then she was looking at... I don't know, Tim, if you've seen Price's little tokens that she made for Team Good Team, where it's a white token, but because she has an AMS on her printer and she can do multi-filament printing, it's fully 3D printed, but the logo where it says Team Good Team and little smiley face is black. I think you might have one, Tim. I know I have one. My mom's like, well, can you print these? I'm like, yes, but I can't do the 2 colors. Well, why can't you do the 2 colors? Because my printer doesn't do dual filament. I would have to stop the print and reload a different filament to do that. Oh, do they make printers that do that? I'm like, yeah, the $2,000 printer I keep pointing at going, mom, mother, mommy dearest. I mean, that was, Tim, when I went to RCL Finals just to hang out with you guys, when we left Finals, we went to Micro Center. And that was the first thing. Like, we walked in the door and I went straight to the Bamboo Labs printers and I grabbed one of the Bamboo X1 carbons. I'm like, this. And she's like, how much? And I'm like, don't look at the price tag. Don't look at the price tag. Just run your credit card. Just run your credit card and don't even look at it. Don't even. And she looks at it and she's like, that's $1,200 or it's a $1,300 printer. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Set it down. Grab the $2,000 one with the AMS. Yeah, I think her new one is... Hang on, I gotta find it. I'm gonna walk through my camera and everything. No, it's printed. The new one, the one that I have, it is actually 3D printed. It is actually 2 different layers. She might have originally did them as one piece for finals, but then she's made new ones because I think she has, I don't know which printer, but I know she has one of the Bamboo Lab printers because she actually printed me some nylon parts for Yellowhorn. Okay, Tim. I watch maker YouTube videos, right? And everyone keeps talking about the H2D, and I'm like, fuck it, that's That's what I want. I want that. I want that because it has the printer and it has the laser cutter and it has the vinyl cutter, and I'm like, things I could make with that. And then I look at the price tag and I go, I don't have enough kidneys for that. Yeah, her original ones I think were just Sharpie, but her new ones are actually two-piece, like, or not two-piece, but like multi-filament print. But she actually did print some parts for Gjallarhorn. She specifically printed. I don't know if as and them are gonna show up, so I'm just gonna like. I'm gonna go full weatherman now on this robot. So this part of the robot right here, this red piece that goes along here, this front inner frame piece, she printed that in nylon. Yeah, the Prusa XL. That's another one I've been looking at, but I'm almost want to get the Bamboo Labs Carbon X1, X2, whatever it is, just because it has the full enclosure and everything. And if I did that, then I could run nylon, which then I wouldn't have to bug Price to print me nylon parts. But she printed me this nylon inner frame, just the front piece, and holy shit, that fucking took a beating. I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you were watching the stream, Tim. The Scar stream. They're actually they have almost all of the same equipment that Pong has. Like they have a big rack and everything, but they just don't have anybody really running the stream. They basically just turn the stream on and go, it's fine. They were doing some camera switching, but they were not like they weren't at the level of camera switching and camera work and like what would the word be? Hostmanship, I guess. Hostiness that Pong is at. But I have video from that. You were out and about. I have video. I have a clip from that stream of my one and only fight with my robot. Unfortunately, you saw the Racket Nationals. Yeah. It's almost at Pong level of rack. But yeah, I only did one fight, and that was mostly because the weapon motor right here, did not survive the fight. But the rest of the robot did. The rest of the robot, this back piece here was a little piece of shit, and both my back wheels fell out in one hit. But that's that. The rest of the robot worked for the entire fight until the weapon motor exploded, and I'm like, oh! I did not expect it to do as well as it did, right? Had I had a backup weapon motor, I would have gone in and done another fight. They actually don't, and they did actually have somebody doing the switching. Where is it? I thought I had it. So here's the fight. Here's the one fight that I had, right? You can see Sandstorm above me. Sandstorm, absolutely violent robot. Like, I could not have asked for a more destructive opponent other than Droopy. But, like, there's Sandstorm, and I have never been a weatherman before. I'm learning this. And over here is Gjallarhorn, right? And let's watch this fight. Let's watch this fight.
Horn, are you ready? Got thumbs up from Gjallarhorn. Sandstorm, are you ready? Sandstorm is ready. Let's start this beat-away fight in 3, 2, 1. Fight, robots, fight! Both robots spinning up. Sandstorm, the purple robot, launching Gjallarhorn. Gjallarhorn exploding and losing both back wheels, but still driving. Sandstorm possibly having weapon issues, no longer spinning up, but definitely out pushing the two-wheeled Gallarhorn now. Gallarhorn still has weapon. Not Sandstorm pushing Gallarhorn into the wall, pinning him for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and backing off, giving a chance to spin back up. Sandstorm coming in. Weapon to that full blast.
Yeah, that's where the clip ends. But like, because that's right when I tapped out. You could see my weapon motor just exploding. But the fact that for the entire fight, for the entire minute and a half that my robot was in that arena, it was functional. It worked. There were some problems. Obviously, I only had the TPU wheels without any magnets. I was right at the weight limit. In fact, I was 1 ounce overweight. When I did my initial weigh-in, I was 2 ounces underweight. I applied 2 pieces of tape to the robot. 2 pieces of tape! And that put me 1 ounce overweight. I don't know how, but it did. Anyways, so I didn't have any grip material on my wheels. The other problem I had was because the design of the weapon got the weapon so close to the floor. The weapon was so close to the floor that the screws on the bottom. I wonder if I can actually manipulate Fusion 360 right here. I don't know if I can manipulate it in here. You might not let me do it. Yep. No. No. Stop doing that. I fucking hate when it does that. I know I used Gorilla Tape. So let's see. Is Fusion crashing? Fusion just crashed. Fusion just crashed. That's the first time I've ever had Fusion. Yeah, it's the first time I've ever had Fusion crash. So I put speed holes in the top and bottom of the robot to try and reduce the weight of the aluminum top plate and aluminum bottom plate. And like, they reduced the weight, but also my wires were falling out of the bottom. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just real quickly put some tape over it. Originally, I was going to put a piece of paper in there, but I didn't have, I was like, a thin piece of paper, that's all I need. Didn't have any paper. So I was like, all right, I'll just put a piece of tape there, it'll be fine. So yeah, I can see these speed holes here, right? On the top, and there's some on the bottom. I really love them too. It gives it a nice, cool aesthetic. But I had wires coming out of there, and I was worried that the wire was going to get snagged, and that was going to be the end of the robot. There was going to be a fire or whatever. The last thing I wanted to do is be the person responsible for a fire at the event. You know, I didn't want my robot to be the one on fire. I don't mind setting other people's robots on fire. But, I was like, I don't want to worry about those wires coming out. I'll just tape. So I put a piece of tape pretty much from here all the way along to here across the top plate and the bottom plate. On the inside, too, so it didn't stick out. Now, the one other problem I did have is these these button heads here. Because of how low the weapon sits to the floor, they were scraping the floor. And you actually saw at the start of that video, the robot spin around, because as I was spinning up the weapon, I was getting no traction with the wheels, but I was getting traction with these stupid fucking button head bolts. But in testing, I couldn't get the robot to move. Window screen, what I was originally thinking of doing was just putting a piece of paper, like some cardstock in there, or even some Tegris. Like, I have some thin Tegris panels. I'm like, I could probably stick a little piece of Tegris in there. And I think the next, I already have plans on what I'm going to do next to this robot. I'm really happy with how this frame design worked and this weapon assembly. Holy shit. This is the most reliable offbeat Gjallarhorn's weapon has ever been. When we did the belt, when we did the initial gear drive on the first version of Offbeat, when Robert and I did the first gear drive, the gears would explode from centrifugal force. They would melt from the friction. Even though I was putting like high temperature silicone gun grease on them, the centrifugal force or the friction of the gears would just melt and they would explode. So, a minute and a half, a minute into the fight, my weapon would go down because half the gear was gone. Then we were like, oh, let's switch to pulleys. So we did pulleys. Well, we never got proper belts. We just kept using O-rings because they were cheap. The problem is the O-rings don't have anything to prevent them from stretching. And again, the centrifugal force of that O-ring going around multiple pulleys would cause it to stretch out and overstretch and then float away. Or it would derail. It would come up over one of the pulleys and pop off if everything wasn't quite perfectly aligned. Then I went back to the gear drive, but then I went with the nylon and aluminum gears, and I kept melting my weapon shaft. I kept melting the weapon shaft, and that was the big problem. So then I came up with this design, which you've seen me kind of work on a little bit before, where I moved the gears from instead of on top to the bottom, right? And, with this zombie shaft, it's just a single bolt that goes through there's a single bolt that goes through the middle here for the zombie shaft. But moving the gears like this, game fucking changer for the robot, right? Super reliable. The one problem I have, and I have to address it in the next version of this robot, and I know how I'm going to fix it, it's actually a relatively easy fix, is the fact that there's almost no gap between the motor output gear and the weapon itself. It's less than a millimeter of gap. So if the weapon wobbles at all, it's going to hit that gear and it's going to obliterate either the gear or the motor. And I'm 90% sure that's what happened. Is when I got flipped upside down, I finally had drive. I was now an overhead spinner. The weapon wasn't dragging on the ground, and I was at 100% throttle. I had that throttle full send. So I was hitting as hard as the robot could hit. And when Sandstorm hit the blade tilted like this and just snagged the output gear and just disintegrated the motor. We're talking the gear came off. The top part of the can separated from the magnets. The magnets, the outer part of the can, shattered. And then I even broke part of the stator, like the windings in the motor. That motor was not repairable, not reusable. So what I'm thinking of doing is in a future version of this robot is moving this motor up a little bit. So if we actually take the top plate off, you can see that I have this plate right here. You can see I have this plate right here. I can actually move this plate up like 2 millimeters, put another hole right here for the motor to stick out. So the motor and top plate are still two separate pieces. And all I have to do to take the top plate off is take off these 4 bolts or nuts at the corner, which, holy shit, another fucking game changer, worked super well. But that should also allow me to then, on the motor, or that should allow me to move that motor and this gear up further into the frame and allow me to put a spacer between this gear and the blade. And then I'm going to countersink, and I hate to do this, I'll be able to put a spacer between this gear and this blade, which will allow me to move all the gears up further away. So if the blade wobbles. I've got more clearance between this gear and this blade. And then I'm going to countersink these holes and use some countersink bolts. Now, it's going to be a pain in the ass because countersinking AR500, that's like asking your crush out. It's just fucking impossible. It's just fucking impossible, man. But I'm like, this weapon assembly, I think, is the right way to go. The one issue I did have when I initially printed the test fitting of all the frames, this bolt here that is in the CAD is not the bolt that I ended up actually using. I used a different bolt, which is a smaller diameter bolt. That smaller diameter bolt was loose inside the hole in here, right? So it could wobble around, which could cause the blade to wobble. So when I sent the CAD to Price to print that in nylon, I specifically made that hole smaller with the idea of, I want this bolt to be press fit in there. I want this nut to be able to come off and the shaft not to come out. It needs to be a snug, tight ass, we're talking nun's ass tight fucking fitting, right? But when I sent it to Price, it was loose. So it had a little bit of wobble, so the blade could wobble a little bit. My solution was I did wrap that shaft in some tape and kind of like wedge it in there. And I'm like, man, I gotta make sure that is a snug ass fit. But I mean, you saw the video, Tim. You saw the video. I streamed the video. The weapon was still working right up until I tapped out. Yeah. Well, it's literally, it was a matter of, I had sat down, Price handed, we left my house, picked up Price, drove to California, got out of the car, got all set up. Price handed me these parts for the first time, and I put the put the new frame in, got everything on, put the weapon in, and went, uh-oh, this is loose. All right, what do I do? 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 I've got tape. We can make this work. And it tested fine in the test box. It survived until the weapon assembly still, like, this nut, the shaft, this gear, the only real damage to the weapon assembly itself was the tip of the blade was a little blunted from getting hit, and this crown plate, there's a spacer right here that holds everything together. That was a little bent, but I think that was just bent from the final impact that destroyed the weapon drive motor. But I'm like, fuck, dude, this worked. It worked really well. I'm not even mad. Now, there are some more changes that I do want to make to the robot. So, one of the things I want to do, and this is something that, like, something I noticed, I was looking at Minor Threat 5 built by Lucas Grell, which is a 12-pound version of Jackpot, and Lucas is on Jackpot. My drive motors, this motor here and this motor here, are drive motors he's using on his 12-pound robot. These motors are freaking overkill. They are way too overkill for this robot. So, I'm probably going to downsize the motor to a smaller motor, keep the same gear ratio, keep the same drive and everything, and downsize to a smaller motor to reduce weight. If I can save some weight there. But because I have enough of these motors, and I talked to a couple people, they're perfect for beetle-weight weapon motors. And they fit right here. They're the same height. They're just a smaller diameter, but they're the same height. Embracing your inner fox. I honestly like this format. Parker, we're trying something new tonight. We're trying something new. But, yeah. So I can literally take my stockpile of spare drive motors and turn them into my new weapon motors. They're almost a drop-in replacement. The only thing I got to do differently is the holes here where they mount to the CPM plate. I'm calling that... all the parts of this robot have silly names. This one is the meat for the machine plate, or CPM, carne por la máquina. And then I have to do the holes on the gear, the drive gear. That's all I got to do different, and those motors will work just fine. So I'm going to experiment with that. So I still have the frame; it's sitting over there. In a couple days, when I'm probably after our face-off fights at the end of the month, I'll probably get back to working on this robot. I'm going to take a little break from it. I don't want to overdo it and burn myself out. That's kind of what happened in the past. And I'm learning to pace myself. So it's like I'll work on a little bit here and there, and then actually do testing and stuff when I'm not completely and utterly exhausted. But hold on. They're on. They're still on. Okay. I was just checking my VR chat friends list. But I want to test some smaller motors to reduce weight. Move this motor, replace this motor, and then if all of that works, I'm going to start playing around with weight and balance. I might take this plate and rotate it 90 degrees. So this motor would actually be sitting here where the battery is. And that would allow me to actually take this shaft and move it further forward, which would give me about 4 more millimeters of reach on my weapon. Now, my concern with that is the robot is already fairly nose heavy and wants to tilt down. If I move the weapon further forward, is it going to cause the robot to tilt? So I'm not going to do any CAD work on that right now. I'm going to do CAD work and find some different motors for the drive and this plate here. And that's a future project. That's not tonight. Tonight we're just recapping the weekend that I had with this robot. But if I do that, I think I actually will have a decent robot. Especially since Price took this red part, this inner frame, the front inner frame, and she redesigned she beefed it up, made it extra thick, and printed it out of nylon. Combined with the aluminum body, this robot was tanking hits. I lost one side of my drive, but only because this piece of aluminum right here got bent into my wheel. So I think I might, if I can reduce the weight, I might replace this front plate of aluminum with a front plate of AR. If I can get the weight down, which I think I can do if I make these motors smaller. She also printed me nylon gears, and the nylon gears shaved a ton of weight off. It was awesome. But as always, whenever I'm doing these streams, if you guys have questions about my robots or anything, feel free to ask. Yeah, Parker, you missed kind of earlier. I've been playing, like I said earlier, or said the other day, said earlier in the stream. I've been playing a lot of VR chat, and my cable's all tangled around my feet. I was going to take my cable and plug it into my battery bank, and then put my battery bank in my back pocket so I wouldn't have a cable dangling around. And then I was like, that's too much work for tonight. It's too much work. I'm already got enough stuff going on to getting this setup working. But I've been playing a lot of VR chat, and this is actually the avatar that I've been working on as well. It's my own. It's my quote unquote own avatar. My. Can I do 2 fingers? Quote unquote my own avatar. It is a base that I bought and have modified in I made my own shirt. I added the tattoo that I actually have and added some other things. I'm in a room in game. If we actually do this, I'm actually at a bar. I'm at a bar in game. One of the things about VR chat is when you first spawn in, you spawn in your home world, right? And you can set your home world to wherever. And this happens to be, this is Hangar 6. It's one of my favorite worlds. I actually didn't do anything with the hands. I actually don't like the hands. The hands are too big. They're too big. They need to be skinnier. They're disproportional. But I like kind of doing this where I can I could be the weatherman and I can just here's the CAD file. Here's the part that broke. Actually, this back plate here, I had sent Price this back plate to have printed out on nylon. And she never printed it out of nylon, so I only had one TPU back plate. And the problem is the bolt holes for the back wheels right here, they were a little undersized. Or they were a little oversized. They were a little bit too big. So the bolts barely threaded into those holes. So in the fight, like one big hit and both my wheels they just came out. They just slid out. Like, you could pull them out by hand. The nylon ones didn't, though. The nylon ones stayed in. The nylon ones are still in. So it's like, I'm gonna tweak this design a little bit to accommodate these motors, to move it up so I can put a spacer between this gear and this here. Test it with these motors. Test with different drive motors, and then have Price print me this part in nylon. And probably print me another one of these in nylon. She printed me 3 frames. I'm like, I really only needed one, because I went to this event expecting to lose my first fight. I did not expect to win my first fight, which I didn't. I lost. All right, I'm trying to read that name. I snort fridge gem old? Fridge mold. I snort fridge mold. That's the name. I'm just going to call you Snort. What's up, Snort? We're talking robots drinking beer. And whatever else I'm doing. I'm trying something new. I've never streamed VR chat before, and I'm trying like 4 different things new. I'm trying like this, what I'm calling my weatherman approach, where it's like, here's the CAD file. Nah, dude, no, funny names are hilarious. It took me a minute to read it because like I have my Streamlabs floating in world, but it's like way over there, so it's like kind of small text. But I'm liking this weatherman where I can just kind of like see, and then I can just like quickly go here and like manipulate whatever, and then point at things. It's an interesting blend of I'm playing VR chat and I'm showing off my CAD. I can't actually work on the CAD like this. I would not try to do it like this. If I was to do that, you would actually see me sitting at my computer. Oh. Weatherman is cool. Yeah. No, I'm liking this. I'm liking this. It's and then I can show off my CAD in like a short Tuesday stream like this. And then if I do longer format streams, I can do like, all right, we're actually going to sit down and I'll be sitting at my computer working on the CAD. But like I said, Fridge, I'm not really working on the CAD tonight because I worked on it all last week and the weeks before. I went to a competition last weekend, did a fight, and I'm kind of in that post-fight recap mode. And I have another big competition with my other robot.
Frameshift drive charging.
I dab when people follow. I don't know why. I just started doing it one time while streaming and haven't stopped since. Please. This is a cry for help. But I have another big competition with my other robot in like 2 weeks, and I want to prevent myself from getting burnt out and like having a bad time at that competition. Holy shit, that's a screw. If I had full body tracking, I would. That is obnoxiously loud in my VR headset. But thank you for the subscription with your Prime. If anyone else is watching and you have Prime, you can link it to your Twitch account. And you subscribe for free to anyone who you're watching on Twitch. Yeah, so Fridge, I used to do a lot of train sim streaming, and so a lot of my sound effects come from that. And then I also did a lot of Elite Dangerous streaming, so some of my sound effects come from that. One of these days, I will actually go through and like make a coherent like package deal. But I'm also kind of like, I kind of like the chaos. It's just all random bullshit that actually has to do with me and my streaming. Parker, and Fridge, did you guys see earlier when I actually showed the video of the fight? As I was saying though, like I I have another competition coming up with another robot, so I don't want to work on this robot too much and then get myself exhausted and burnt out and then have a bad time when I'm working on the other robot. Well, I can always, but Fridge, here's the cool thing. Here's the cool thing. I can always just go, bloop. And then...
Clock, Gjallarhorn, are you?
What is that box there? Oh, it was trying to capture Fusion 360 twice. Ha! All right, let's rewatch this video. So, this robot here, this is Sandstorm. It's built by Jeremy. Forget his last name. You can see him standing right there. Immensely talented builder. He's also a world championship level yo-yoer, and generally an all-around fun guy to hang out with. Very dry sense of humor. Will just say something in the monotone voice that's just, you take psychological damage from it. And actually, we have an ad starting shortly, so I'm not going to play this video until after the ad, just because I know that I have some viewers who aren't subscribers, and I want everybody to be able to view this. However, during the ad, subscribers, you can still chat and ask questions. I'm just like, I don't have full body tracking, but I can still at least bob my head to my music. You know, Tim, I was absolutely hoping to fight. Oh, well, there were two other robots at this event that I would have liked to have fought. That would have been even more brutal fights. But I think Jeremy with Sandstorm was the best case scenario for testing my robot. In that, I know he drives really well, and I know he hits really hard. And also, I haven't fought a vertical spinner in, 6 competitions. I haven't fought a vertical spinner since I fought Mr. Scrubbles at New Year New Bots in 2023. I have not fought a vertical spinner with my horizontal. I'm gonna grab my beer, which is over here. If anyone's curious what beer I'm drinking, Cali Squeeze Blood Orange. Jeremy insists that we're now 2-2 because last year at Destruction Under the Stars, I was supposed to fight him, but my robot was completely destroyed and I tapped out. But it's like, does that really count? I forfeited to you. I didn't fight you. Are you talking about the beer? Fridge? Sounds good. Because it is. It is good. It almost tastes like an orange creamsicle. Like the first time I had it, I get it in cans, which you can pick up at Walmart and any grocery store. I don't know anywhere else, but the first time I had it, I got it from. I was at one of those. It's not a brewery. It's not a brewery, but it's one of those restaurants that has a fuck ton of beers, and it came out of a keg, so it was ice cold. It was freezing. It was below freezing cold, and it tasted just like an orange creamsicle. It is Cali Squeeze Blood Orange. It comes in a 6-pack of cans. I haven't seen bottles of it. It probably tastes a little different in bottle, but I just drink it straight from the can. Sometimes I'll pour I'll get 2 of them and pour them into a big mug. And I actually was on my way home from work today, and I was like, I don't want to buy more beer later this week. I'm just going to buy 2 6-packs on my way home. And like I had half a 6-pack left in the fridge. And I was like, I've only got like 3 or 4 left in the fridge. I'll get 2 6-packs so that way I can like, if I don't go out Friday night, I'll at least have beer for Friday night at home. Once this ad break is done. So it almost tastes like orange creamsicle, but it doesn't. It's like, it has that orangey flavor, but it also doesn't. It's weird. It's a good flavor though. Like, if you like more orange flavory beers or fruitier beers like Blue Moon and stuff, you'll probably like it. We're just waiting for this ad to finish, and then we will play the video. We'll play the video. And I'll probably replay the video, but I'll go like step by step of some of the stuff going on. I'll play it one time. I'll probably like duck down low too, like, all right, I'm out of the way. Let's watch. Let's put this in. Let's go, guys. Let's go to Popcorn Palace and put this on. If you're not familiar with VR chat, there is a world called Popcorn Palace, and all it is like going and sitting and watching movies, and it's a movie theater, but it's like small movie theater where like there's different theater rooms you can go into that are small, like intimate little things where it's like, oh, it's just you and like 4 of your friends. You're a dingus? Like from the Purple Donut? On Hub. This beer talk making me sad. Look, I like beer, okay? I like beer. I'm white. I'm a white millennial with a beard. You grow a beard and it's like, fuck, I gotta have beer. I already had my tacos. I stopped and got Del Taco on the way home and like scarfed down on my tacos and was like, I was starting the stream as I was like shoveling the last one into my face. All right. I'm gonna duck down low. Let's go ahead and watch this video of this fight.
You ready? Got thumbs up from Gallarhorn. Sandstorm, are you ready? Sandstorm is ready. Let's start this beataway fight in 3, 2, 1. Fight, robots, fight! Both robots spinning up. Sandstorm, the purple robot, launching Gallarhorn. Gallarhorn exploding and losing both back wheels, but still driving. Sandstorm possibly having weapon issues, no longer spinning up, but definitely out-pushing the 2-wheeled Gallarhorn now. Gallarhorn still has a weapon. Not Sandstorm pushing Gallarhorn into the wall, pinning him for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and backing off. Giving a chance to spin back up. Sandstorm coming in. Weapons at full blast.
Yeah, the fight, unfortunately, the Twitch only let me clip that much of the fight, but like, you could see the part of the weapon went flying that way. But the fact that I took all of those hits, and the robot kept going, and I was able to keep the front of the robot pointed at my opponent. Previous iterations of this robot, the motor controllers I was using were running what's called BL Heli 32 as the controls firmware. And one of the problems with BL Heli 32 is you don't have a lot of low speed control. Basically, if you're below about 10% power, the motors might not work at all. And I had one of them was giving me problems where it would periodically just lose phase. These are a 3-phase motor. There's 3 wires going in to spin the motor. Well, I would lose phase and my motor would just jam up. And it literally, I would test it on the bench. Everything would be fine. I would put it in the arena. It would drive to its square and you would hear a from the motor as it would just shut off, right? And then I would be at that motor for the rest of the fight. And it was really, really frustrating. Well, I switched over to a component called a dual brushless ESC made by Repeat Robotics. It is a component specifically made for combat robots like this. And what it is it's one motor controller that can actually drive two motors. So it's driving both my left and right motor. It's one part less wiring, less weight. Yay! It's also running a different firmware called AM32, which is much better at low speed. So I dialed in all my drive and everything where I could drive really, really slow with this robot. And you can see in the fight, like when I land upside down, I was able to very slowly turn and keep the front of my robot pointed at Sandstorm. Phew! Ugh. I felt that sneeze coming forever. Oh, thank you. And let's actually go back a little bit. There's actually one thing that's kind of funny, that kind of cool that happens right about.
Launching Gjallarhorn.
So right there, you see the wheels come out. You see the wheels come out because of the fact that the rear axles were just pressed into the TPU, and there was just so much energy in him bouncing me into the walls, and then my drive trying to get traction, that the wheels just fell out. But it's fine. It's fine. Turns out I didn't need them. The robot worked just fine. Like, even when the weapons spun up, it was like, yeah, now the weapon's definitely dragging on the floor, so it causes the robot to spin like a top. But once I flipped upside down, which I was trying to get it to do, it works.
Horn exploding and losing both back wheels, but still driving. Sandstorm
and then,
possibly having...
So, you hear Wes talk about Sandstorm possibly having weapon issues. His upright armor that he'd put on specifically to fight horizontals like my robot, he hadn't ran those in like 2 years, and he's changed the weapon design since he originally got them. So when he put it all together, there was a periodic time where the weapon would actually hit the brackets that hold his front wedge on and jam up. And so I actually had jammed up his weapon. And the only reason why my weapon isn't spinning is because I had shut it off while I was pinned up against the wall because I didn't want to overheat and burn up my motor. And I was waiting to get away from him and turn the weapon back on.
Weapon issues, no longer spinning up, but definitely out pushing the two-wheeled Gjallarhorn now. Gjallarhorn still has weapon.
Right there, that hit. Let's go back.
Out pushing the two-wheeled Gjallarhorn now.
And
Gjallarhorn
watch this one spark. I'm pretty sure it's part of my weapon. There's one spark that lasted long enough that there was a puff of smoke. But here, like, I got stuck like this. I got stuck on my side. And I'm like, I know what to do. I got stuck on my side. And I'm like, I know what to do. Galaxy brain moment. Shut the weapon off. Because the robot was balanced on its side because of the gyroscopic force of my weapon spinning. So I shut the weapon off. I fall back over, and immediately Jeremy pins me. And again, I don't want to turn the weapon on when I'm pinned like that and risk burning up my motor.
Sandstorm pushing Gjallarhorn into the wall, pinning him for 5, 4, 3.
And I'm not even trying to drive because I can see my wheels aren't even touching the ground.
Giving a chance to spin back up. Sandstorm coming in.
Now I get flipped upside down, and now I can drive. I can drive, and I got my weapon up to speed. But you can already kind of see that this one part of the wedge right here, or my front plow, is bent into that wheel and completely preventing that wheel from turning.
Weapons at full blast.
And then right about here, you can see everything is working. The weapon is spinning at full power. I'm at 100% throttle. 100% throttle. I've never been able to run my weapon at 100% throttle. Because then like the original gear drives would explode at 100% throttle. The belt drive at 40% or at 45, 50% throttle, the belt would fling off and go suborbital. The new gear drives that Jeff designed for it, with the weapon shaft at 100% throttle, because the weapon shaft was melting inside the bearings, At 60% throttle, I would cook the motor. The motors would actually catch fire. But here I am, 100% throttle. 100% throttle. I've never been able to do that, so I'm hitting it freaking hard as this robot can hit. I'm just like, Fridge, you're new here. I've been running this robot for a couple years now, and I've had nothing but reliability issues with the weapon. The weapon always gives me problems. This is the most reliable the weapon has ever been. You have no idea how good of a feeling it is to have a weapon that actually works, that is reliable, that makes me happy, even if it did explode. Because if we watch next, you can see, oh wait, can I go, I want to go frame by frame. Is there a playback speed option on here?
Backing off, giving a chance to spin back up. Sandstorm coming in. What? That full blast.
The problem is this is a bad position for me to be in, because when he hits my weapon, because he spins in the upward direction, he's going to hit my weapon and try to rip it out of the robot. Is it hard to make it reliable? I will explain all of the different designs that we've had here in a moment, and why it's been super unreliable, and why I think this is probably the best, why this is the best version of it, and it's only going to get better, because I know what I need to fix. I want to find that big hit. Look at the gyroscopic force, like, wanting to just keep my robot level. Now, something that's kind of scary is my batteries. There's a piece of tape that says, "Do not pull." That piece of tape is sticking out of the back of my robot, and I was very concerned that I was going to lose a battery right here, and so I was trying to make sure that he didn't get to the backside of my robot. Right there. You can see it. You can see that little piece of gold right there. That little piece of gold. That is the bottom of my weapon motor coming out. So Fridge, the various different iterations of this weapon design that we've had. The very first version, we can actually go back to the CAD. Early versions of it. Do it front view. So early versions of it, the weapon motor sat here just like it does now, but this gear was on top. And then this gear here was also on top. Now, the advantage of that is it keeps the gears and everything very far away from the weapon. They're not going to get damaged by the weapon assembly. And it worked really well. They never really got damaged. But we have to transfer the rotational energy rotational motion from the gear up here down to the weapon down here somehow. So we had to have a shaft. And all the shafts we ran to keep the weight down were 3D printed nylon. We had two very large skateboard bearings in here, which those were very heavy. Which, you know, when you only have 3 pounds of weight to work with, you add that, you can't add much else anywhere else. Well, the problem was, even when I would put grease on those, and they were brand new, the amount of friction from them rolling against the bearings inside there would melt the shaft, which would then jam up the bearings and make the friction even higher and melt everything else. And so I could run the weapon at like 40% power and not melt my shaft. The first set of gears we had, they didn't have the teeth on them. If we actually look at these gears here, you can see these are some pretty substantial teeth, right? Well, the original gears, when we first designed it with the gear drive, had very small teeth. So it was a lot of energy, a lot of force on a very small 3D printed area. They would just shear. The teeth would just shear off. And then because the gears had to be lightweight, we had to somehow make the gears lightweight. We would put holes and cutouts in them. Well, the amount of force that was going into the gears at speed in an impact between the motor and the gear and the shaft and the friction and everything would just cause them to explode. So you'd get 1, maybe 2 hits out of the weapon system before your gear would explode, and it's no longer reliable. And again, the friction of those small teeth rubbing into each other would melt the teeth. And again, I'm slathering gun grease, high temp silicone gun grease all over these things, and they're still melting because there's so much friction. Then we switched to a belt and pulley system with everything still on top. And that actually worked really well, but we never had a proper belt. We just used O-rings. I would go and get 1 3/4 inch O-rings, drain O-rings from the hardware store. I'd pick up like 20 of them. And those would work really well, but because there was no core to them, they could stretch like a rubber band. And the centrifugal force of spinning around that top pulley and the weapon pulley would cause them to actually expand and stretch out until they were no longer making contact with either pulley sufficient enough to actually spin anything. And they would start melting the pulleys. And when they would melt the pulleys would disintegrate, and then the ring would float away, and now my weapon system is completely gone. And it also didn't help that I had that shaft also melting, which put more friction and load on everything. So I came up with this dead shaft, flip everything over design, which has its problems, but I know how to address them and work forward with them to make it even better. That now is more reliable. How fast is it spinning full tilt? So the original system, and I always make this joke because we did the math. I didn't measure the tip speed of the weapon in miles per hour. I measured it in Mach. The original version of this, if I was able to run the weapon at full tilt without everything exploding, this would be moving at almost Mach 1. It was Mach 0.7, about 700 miles an hour. With this gear drive and these new motors this motor that I was running, I was pushing, I think the last I checked, about 210 miles an hour at the tip, which is actually a really there's a term called feed and bite. My weapon is asymmetrical, so this part of the weapon here actually sticks out further than this part of the weapon down here. So what happens is if this part of the weapon misses you, on the next pass by, even more of your robot has been fed into the path of it. A Mach 1 is the speed of sound. So had I got this weapon up to full speed, you would have heard sonic booms. It would have been cracking. It also probably would have had some really interesting thermal physics happening to the front of it, but it's not big enough. Yeah, whip it. Yeah, no, this new motor and this new gear drive, I think is around 240 miles an hour, 210 miles an hour, somewhere in that range, which means there's more time between when the blade is here and comes back to here to feed more of your robot in, which means I'm able to hit with a larger surface area and I'm able to deliver a lot more energy. At 700 miles an hour, the time between when the blade is here and back to right here means that I'm only feeding a tiny little bit of your robot in there, and I'm just going to be scratching your paint. I'm never going to deliver a big bite hit. But at 230, 240, 250, whatever it is, I haven't actually calculated it with this setup. With this setup, at the 240 miles an hour, I'm able to get a bigger bite and able to deliver more energy. So I'm able to take a bigger chunk of your robot off. And so one of the things you missed earlier, Fridge, is I'm going to change the motor that I'm using. The motor I currently was using is a $45 motor, and it's very hard to find because it's a very oddball size. However, these motors right here that I've used for my drive, they are overkill for the drive. These are motors that people are using in 12 and 30 pound robots for their drive. I can get away with using a smaller motor and gearbox here, or even just a smaller motor. And this motor is the same size, at least height-wise, to fit where my weapon motor goes. So I can use all of my spare drive motors as weapon motors. They're higher KV, but they're smaller size, so they probably won't catch fire. But they're more readily available. I can order 10 of this motor. These motors are $15. I can order 10 of them, or 5 of them or whatever, and have them here at my house tomorrow through Amazon. Whereas the original weapon motor I'm using, I can only find it on Motion RC for $45, and it takes 2 weeks to get here. So if I switch to a more readily available motor, I can get away with smaller drive motors, which will reduce weight, which means I can put that weight somewhere else. I like to tell people when building a robot, there's your weight triangle, right? Your triangle of robot building. At the top, you have drive. Here you have armor, and here you have weapon. You only have so many points of weight, and you can only put them so far into one area. This robot was like all drive and all weapon. I'm slowly kind of trying to balance it out where I'm going to have a lot of weapon and a lot of drive, but I'm actually going to have some survivability. And this red part, I was talking about this earlier. Tim and Parker were here for it. But this red part has actually been modified since then, and it's a little thicker, especially in this area and this area here. And it was printed out of nylon, not TPU, which reinforced this aluminum tub, because this whole frame piece here is a piece of folded and CNC cut aluminum. It reinforced it, so I was able to take all of those hits that Sandstorm was able to deliver. I probably wouldn't have survived a fight against Droopy, but not every competition I go to has Droopy. And I can survive a fight against Sandstorm with this design if I can fix the drive, make the weapon even a little bit more reliable, solve the clearance issues. I could see going to a competition and, having another good fight against Sandstorm. Oh. What's funny too is the gear drive that I have right now for the drive is geared for 55 miles an hour. I can drive this robot down the freeway. This version they had to be because I was originally going to get gum rubber wheels like what Jeff runs, but I don't have access to a laser cutter to cut the gum rubber. And, I didn't want to do that. And after doing some weight calculations, I realized the gum rubber was going to be too heavy. But I do have a version of this wheel where the tread part of it will be a separate material. And I think if I can shave some weight off with the drives, I think I'll have a rate for it. All right, later, fridge. I'm probably gonna go for another half hour. I'm only gonna do 2 hours tonight, and then I want to take a break. I'm gonna try and maybe I'll figure out I keep saying I want to stream more often, and then it's Sunday and I'm just exhausted. But we'll try maybe more. Maybe some late night streaming this week, playing some more VR chat. All right, later. But yeah, I again, Tim, like I said, I was 1 gram overweight. So I think if I can smaller drive motors, smaller weapon motor, that's going to shave off some weight there. So I think I can do it. So the motor then just fits between the 2 gears of the wheel. Yeah, in fact, let me show you how that works. It might be a little hard to see because of the coloring. And then I'm gonna hide the back wheel. And I'll hide the front wheel. So you can see I have an output gear here. And that's directly on the motor shaft. And then if I bring the wheel back in, it's kind of hard to do since technically I'm doing this all like only one hand. You can see that the output gear meshes with teeth on here. This is the same way that Offbeat drove. The one problem that I had with Offbeat's drive was that this gear was a metal gear and it had very, very small teeth. And this gear was TPU gear with very, very small teeth. So when I would get into a pushing match, this gear would shred these teeth and just rip them off. and then I'd have blind spots where there were no teeth, and that wheel just wouldn't turn. And so one of my goals with this was, I want to make these teeth bigger, so there's more surface area between this gear and this gear for those teeth to bite into each other and deliver more energy, so I don't strip out my gears. And I still stripped out my gear, but it was actually not the wheel that stripped out, it was the pinion gear that stripped out. That one actually, like, shredded. But I also 3D printed these out of TPU. If I 3D printed them out of PLA, they probably would have, out of PLA Plus, they probably would have lasted a little longer. And originally I was also going to put a set screw in here, but all I ended up doing is, because this is TPU and it's stretchable, I could just undersize this hole and press fit it on there. So both wheel spin direction are going to be opposite spinning since... No, they both rotate in the same direction. Because this gear is rotating, to go forward, is rotating, let's see, is rotating this way. It's rotating this way. It's rotating, this gear is rotating this way, which meshes with this wheel and rotates them this way. And what's nice is these wheels are big enough, I can land upside down and keep driving. And as long as I don't lose the back wheels, I actually can't land on my butt. Yeah, sometimes looking at this stuff, like, sometimes you look at CAD for, like, hours on end, and your brain just kind of goes mush, and you're like, I will be working on this, and I will just get up and, like, walk and stand in my living room, just stare at the ceiling, and be like, okay. Like, that's how I CAD. I'll be, like, measuring. What are you meowing about, Cheddar? My kitten is at my feet meowing. If I turn my UI on, can you see what's floating overhead? No, you can't. Oh, what notification did I just get? I had to check my VR chat notifications. Oh, that's dumb. Huh. I guess there's filters for the camera too. I'm learning. I think that's always an important thing to do. Is always just even if you're not like sitting down studying something, just like Play around with shit. Learn something new. Figure out how to do something new. Do CAD. Learn CAD. It is an immensely powerful feeling when you know how to make something in like a CAD software and you have access to a 3D printer and you just make the thing. Like Saturday, I was playing Flight Sim and I really wanted to hook my yoke up to my desk. But I didn't want to hook up the center stand because I didn't want to hit my knee on that center stand every time I got in and out of my seat. And then I had this idea. I'm like, what if I just had like an L-shaped bracket that I could screw into my desk? It had holes in the top of it that I could drop the screws through and like attach my yoke to that through the mounting brackets on top that are supposed to be for like all the flight sim controls. And so I just fired up Fusion 360 and designed that in like 20 minutes. Printed 2 of them in 2 hours and had it working. I was like, I am a god amongst men. And then I like designed this robot and it works fairly well. Like it could have done better. It could have done better. The weapon dragging the floor. The gap between the excuse me. The gap between the blade and the gear could have been less, but those are things that I've learned, and I know how to fix them moving forward. I had something go off. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Like somebody was texting me. Yeah, that's my exact thing. I was sitting there thinking about it the other day. I'm like, man, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be like an inventor. I just wanted to be able to make shit. Like I wanted to solve problems, look at something and make something. And I always had these cool ideas for things, but I had no way of getting them out of my head and onto paper. And then like today, I was on my lunch break and I was walking and I just like I had one of those dumb ideas that pops into your head. Just as somebody who's as a maker, builder, tinkerer, whatever, you get ideas. You get an idea. I had one last week that like I have sketched out on paper, and I'm like, I could actually design this. I figured out all of the design problems with this thing. But I had another idea, and I was like, what if I had Heelys, but they had motors in them, right? Like, what if I had a motorized Heely? Could I take like this motor right here, and this battery, and this motor controller, and this receiver, and another one of these batteries, and another one of these motors, and another one of these motor controllers, and another receiver, and just do like a gear drive just like what this is here and have, but in like a Heely? Could I do that? And I'm like, I probably could. I wonder how they work. Shit, I have access to Fusion 360. All I gotta do is find a pair of Heelys, measure the fucking wheel, and I could make it. Not that I would actually do that, but like, I could if I wanted to. Yeah. I had one the other day. Variable speed people mover. Okay? Hear me out. You're at the airport. They have those sidewalks that move, right? But they only move at one speed. You get on it, you stand there, you're now moving at effectively a brisk walk. What if you could stand on that and partway through, like the first quarter of it is the normal speed. The next half of it, right, is a high speed section that's moving faster. And then the last quarter is the normal speed for you to slow down and get off. And I thought about that. I'm like, how could you have two conveyor belts moving at two different speeds on the same plane? And I thought, well, escalators and those moving walkways, they have grids. They have little blades, little fins. And those grids are to help with cleaning, maintenance, guidance, and traction. Well, what if you had a cable inside that fin that was moving at a higher speed? So that way it's going the whole length of the whole conveyor belt, but it's moving faster. Okay, that would work. I can see how I can visualize and even have sketches of how that mechanically would work. But now how do you get people to be on that cable? That cable, well, the idea is like you get halfway down, you get to that high speed zone, that cable slowly comes up and just rises just high enough up over the fins that grabs your shoes and pulls you along, moving much faster than the rest of the floor under you. And then when you get to the other end, it comes back down. Well, how do you have that mechanism? Yeah. Well, how do you have that cable come up, pick up the passenger moving faster, and then come back down? And I was sitting there like, there's so many moving parts, so many things that would have to crisscross. You couldn't just have two separate conveyor belts. Like, and then it dawned on me, it's like each one of those plates that you would stand on, the cable slides through. Well, there's another plate in there and a cam on a shaft riding in a rail. When you get to that high-speed section, that roller wheel gets pushed down. As that roller wheel folds down, it pushes a bar up, which lifts the high-speed cable up just high enough. And you don't have to be like 2 millimeters. You only need to lift up 2 millimeters, enough that you're now on a higher speed moving part of the platform. Is there any practical use for this? No, there's not. There's too many moving parts. There's some safety issues. But I've been like in my mind iterating on it, and like I have some sketches on paper, and I'm like, one of these days I'm going to sit down in Fusion 360 and I'm going to design one of these modules. I'm going to design it, I'm going to fucking patent it, and then I'm going to sell it to somebody who isn't a big oil company. I had one friend who was online earlier, and now they're not online, and they're like, I want to hang out with you tomorrow. I'm like, I'm going to be streaming tomorrow, and you're like in Europe, so you log off about the time I wrap up my stream. Yeah, they've been offline for an hour now. Yeah, I have that idea, and then I had the idea this afternoon for like a motorized Healy. I was like, when growing up, I always wanted to just make shit, and now I'm old enough and I have access to the tools that I can just make stupid shit. Like, I can come up with these dumb ideas, and I'm not limited to it's stuck in my head and I can never articulate it, I can never actually produce it. I have the dumb idea. If I really have the idea, it's burning hard enough, I have Fusion. I have a 3D printer. I have a SendCut Send account. I could make these things. I just don't have the money to make them, but it would be hilarious. I was walking, I was like, how small of a wheel and motor and gearbox could I fit in my shoes and make like electric roller skates? And I was thinking about it, I was like, well, a small like Lego tire can support your weight. It can't really go over anything more than like a pebble before it jams, even with the best motor and drive. But Heelys are pretty big wheels. Huh, could I do that? I slightly got out of center from where I was standing. I'm actually surprised at how smooth all this is going. Like, I got decent frames, both in-game and on stream. I'm able to, like... I've more or less kind of figured out how to do the Weatherman thing where I can point at the parts. Almost. I kind of wish I was standing on that side of the screen. But like chat is over there, and I don't want chat in my face. I do wish some more people had popped into chat, but you know, it is what it is. Oh, last weekend though, like I don't know what I did to my knee, but like my knee has been really bothering me to the point where like I've had to wear my knee brace all day today. And it's just one of those things, like I put it on and it's just like it's wrapped around my knee. It's extra fabric around my legs, keeping my legs warm. And I could have put shorts on. But I'm like, no, it's that weird time of year where it's like my AC will kick in and it'll be cold for like really cold in my living room for like 10, 15 minutes. And then it warms up and then now I'm too hot and my AC is probably about to kick in again and then I'll be nice and cold again. It's just a vicious cycle. And here's the worst part. It's like I can set my AC to 71 degrees. And when it kicks in, it gets cold in my apartment. And I'm like, man, I'm a little too cold. Like I had to put a hoodie on yesterday. I was sitting on my computer. I'm like, I'm putting a hoodie on. I'm a little chilly. I thought, you know what? I'll bump it up to 72. I bumped it up to 72 degrees. I started dripping with sweat because it was too hot in my apartment. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'll let somebody else handle that. Oh, there's my AC kicking in. So, yeah, this avatar, Parker was talking about a little bit earlier. I have customized this avatar to kind of, like, to my liking. Like, again, I added my own tattoo here, which you can't see on stream. I added my BattleBots Destructathon shirt, which I don't have a Destructathon shirt. I just have a regular BattleBot shirt. I've added these little ear tags that I can actually change and toggle on and off. So when I'm, like, in a world and, like, somebody wants to come up and, like, interact with my character, I can be like, please don't. It says it right there, please don't. The next thing I want to do is I'm trying to learn Blender to like make my own shirts and outfits for this, because I want to make like my button down shirt that I normally wear that has like all my pins on it, and then I want to make like my Ren Fair Viking garb. I think that's a little better camera position. Because now when I look at myself on my monitor, I'm not looking like over here like I have been. Now, something else that I've been working on, and this is the super early stages of it. Is this contraption here. I have this idea for a 12-pound hammer saw. And one of my thoughts was, how can I get a hammer saw that can also double as a lifter? Similar to like what Whiplash can do. And so I was thinking, well, I have the blade, right? I can attack from overhead. So the blade can come down and smack, 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 smack. But if I put this like hooked fork right here, right? You see this hooked fork? If I put that on there, I can lift people. But if you notice, the blade and the fork are at the same level. So I really wouldn't be able to get a deep hit and cut into parts of the robot if that fork is there. But I want the fork there because what I can do is I can go chop, 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 flip you over, chop, 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 chop from the bottom. You really want to learn ZBrush. I've heard about the ZBrush, but I haven't messed with it at all. But no, so this arm, right? So here's what I have. I have this servo, and I have this linkage, and like this was the hardest thing in the world to do because Fusion was being a pain in the ass the entire time. Right? I flip a switch. This arm rotates like that. The fork is now in the upright position. I can cut and do a deep cut into my opponent, right? And the arm is out of the way. Oh, I've completely thrashed the top of your robot, and you're still moving. I'm gonna flip you over, and I'll probably have the weapon on a reversible motor controller, so I can reverse it. So now it's spinning in reverse direction. So it's not a big vertical spinner, similar to what Whiplash does. Get the flip in, flip them over. Oh no, now you're upside down. Whatever shall I do? I shall destroy the bottom of your robot now. And that's like an idea I had, and I came up with this quick sketch, and I'm like, I want to build this into a 12-pound robot. This is one of my next projects. The problem is 12-pound robots are very expensive, and so I have to find a way to be able to afford all my bills and the robot. But this is something I've been cooking on. I just did this shape and all of this as like early rudimentary, like I want to know if this is going to work. It's just to see if it works. I would definitely refine this design and the shape and the position and everything. And one of the things I would do too is when this is all the way down, there would be a locking nub right here. So if this arm were to break, this would default to down and locked. Like would be a stopper, so it wouldn't be able to just flop past a stop point. So it's like, oh no, you broke my linkage. Now I'm a lifter with a vertical spinner. I've gone full Whiplash on you. But then like if it's just flopping around without this servo controlling it, then I can get that cut and it's going to fold out of the way as I'm cutting into your robot. Because this is going to be like a 3-inch circular saw disc. I'm not going to... I don't know if I would do like a big saw blade or if I would do like a toothed weapon like Skibidi Slicer or like robots like Skibidi Slicer or... not Skibidi Slicer, Usurper, which is Jeff's 12-pound hammer saw, which is loosely based off of, or Scorpios, or Sawblaze. Megatron, is another one. Megatron and Sawblaze are both built by Jamison Go. But, that's an idea I'm cooking. It's like it's sitting in the back of my mind. It's sitting in my CAD. I just haven't had the mental energy to work on it yet. Because I've been learning this, and then I've been working on... There's a cat there. This... And I've been working. And it didn't help that, like, last weekend I had my mom in town, which, I love my mom. I love my mom. Love having her in town. She did do some stuff that upset me. Made me upsetty. Cheddar, do you really have to lay right there? Like, you could just lay on the couch. Cheddar's been pretty good about whenever I'm playing VR, he'll just, like, lay on the couch. Like, I think he recognizes that I can't see him. And he might be dumb, but I don't think he's dumb. He may be dumb, but I don't think he's stupid. Yeah, he does. Well, no, it's like, I'll put, like, I come home, and he's running around playing, and I'm playing with him and everything. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to stream, and I'm going to play some VR chat. Hop into VR. And, like, as soon as I did that, he, like, just hopped up on the couch and went to sleep. And then, like, if I were to take my headset off, he would probably get up and start playing again. So I think he knows. I think he's rubbing, like, one brain cell against a rock and recognizes that my headset is on. I'm not paying attention to him. Or maybe I just play VR chat around his sleep time. I don't know. Because it's usually by the time I'm done playing VR chat that he gets super active. Like I'm done playing VR chat and I'm going to go to bed, and that's when he gets super active and hyper. One brain cell. Now that I know that I can stream VR chat, and it's actually working pretty well, and I know the battery bank that I have that I sometimes use when I'm playing VR chat will last about, well, actually it'll last more than that. That one time I did an 8-hour play session in VR chat, I actually had the battery bank, and it was only down like 1 bar. There's part of me that wants to do like a 24-hour, like I've always wanted to do a 24-hour live stream, but part of me wants to try and do something really fucking stupid when F1 shuts us down for a month in November, or for a week in November, and like we just can't go to work. I want to try doing like a full 24-hour VR chat live stream. I don't know how I do it. I don't know if I could do it. I do know, and I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people who sleeps in their VR headset. There are people who do play VR chat, and they will go and they will sit in like a chill world with music playing, rain falling, whatever. Those are super cozy, super comfortable, and they'll just fall asleep, and they'll sleep a whole night like that. And you know, I'm not gonna disparage people from doing that. You do you. You do what is fun for you. I won't yuck your yum. I know I can't do that. I do know that I can sleep short amounts in my headset. Because when I did that 8-hour session, there was a point where I just laid down on the floor for like 5 minutes. And like I got like, well, it wasn't floor. I laid down on my couch, and I actually got pretty comfortable just laying on my couch for a minute. Because I was watching something with some people, and like I nodded off. Ugh. I straight up nodded off and woke myself up snoring, like, and I'd been like snoring for like 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, you were snoring. I was like, huh, I think I should go to bed. And I took my headset off and went to bed. But like, if I did like a 12 or 24-hour stream, there would have to be a part where I'm just like, all right, guys, I'm out. Because that would be part of the challenge. It's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend the next 12 or 24 hours in VR. There's the timer. The clock starts now. And like, there'd be rules, obviously. Like, I can take it off to go to the bathroom. I can take it off to eat. But only for that short amount of time. Because I'm not going to go take a shit with my VR headset on. I'm not going to do that. No. And I've tried eating in VR, but just because of the way I eat and everything, it's difficult. Like, I can eat some crackers, but like, if I want to eat a slice of pizza or tacos or a burger or whatever, it's like, I can't do that. Tried eating some mac and cheese the other day, and it's like, nope. I kept hitting. I was like, I can't see what I'm doing. I keep missing. I got to take my headset off if I'm gonna eat. I can drink though. I can definitely drink. Like I got my. You can't see it, but I got a beer in my hand, and. But I do think that this was a good test run for me streaming in VR like this, in VR chat like this, doing the weatherman thing, showing off my avatar. Does my headset have pass-through to see the real world? Yes. So if I double tap it, ooh. Hold on. If I double tap the side, I do get pass through. It is a Quest 2. The Quest 3 does have a better pass through system. The Quest 2 only does black and white, so I can't see color, and it has some blind spots because it doesn't have nearly as many front-facing cameras. It only has let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 front-facing cameras, and they actually aren't looking directly in front, and they're also like wide-angle lenses, so there's some weird distortion. The Quest 3 has multiple more front-facing cameras and their color, so you do get color pass-through, and even on some applications, like you can do partial pass-through. So I've seen video of people playing like Flight Simulator, and they have all their controls, and they're in VR, but they've masked off like the lower half of their VR view. So like when they look down, they see the pass through and they can see all their controls and buttons and levers, and because they're on a Quest 3, they can see it in full color. And then when they look up, they're looking out the cockpit window of the airplane. And I thought that was really cool. And that's why I almost bought a Quest 3 during finals. When I went to RCL finals to hang out with you guys, I went to Micro Center and I went over and tried grabbing the Bamboo. My mom said, no, that's too expensive. Then I went over and grabbed a VR headset, grabbed a Quest 3. I'm like, yeah, I want this. I've been playing a lot of VR. I'm going to play a lot more VR chat. I'm going to do a lot more VR. I want this. And then I went over and like they had the flight sim demo and I was playing with one of the joysticks and I was like, my VR headset's not too bad. It's still working. It still does everything I wanted to do. Yeah, it doesn't have the color pass through that I would like to have. And the battery is showing its age, but I don't have any major scratches on my lenses. I don't have any dead pixels. I don't have stick drift. Like, I don't really have a reason to upgrade my headset right now. Other than like maybe, upgrading to like a big screen, the big screen headset, because that's actually one I'm looking at. Like that one looks cool. Like from a hardware standpoint, that one looks fucking awesome. But it's also a $2,000 base model headset, and you still have to spend hundreds of dollars on it. It doesn't do the same tracking that the Quest does, and it is a PC only. But I ended up buying the joysticks. Like, my joystick's on its last legs. But I do think I've been doing this for about 2 hours now. I think this was a good test run. I think everything worked really well. I was able to see chat. We had good interactions with people. I want to do more of this. So maybe later this week. The rest of this week I will be working until about 8:30, we'll be working about 8 o'clock, and I won't be home until about 8:30. So maybe I'll see what I've got going on Saturday evening. I might do another live stream Saturday or even Sunday afternoon. Doing more VR chat, and it probably won't be doing the weatherman stuff where I've like got my CAD stuff up. It might just be doing me playing regular VR chat. It may be me just hanging out with some friends and BSing, and you guys come watch. And the best part is VR chat is actually free to play. You can download it for free, and this isn't sponsored by VR chat. You don't need a VR headset to play VR chat. You can play it flat screen. They even have introduced a camera tracking feature where if you have your webcam on, it will track your hands and head motion with your webcam. So you can still have some interaction with your arms and hands and facial features through your webcam. So something to consider if you ever want to hang out with me in VR chat. Because when I'm not doing this, I actually go play a game called Prison Break, where you are randomly assigned either being a prisoner or a guard, and you have to escape. If you're a prisoner, you have to escape prison. If you're a guard, you have to make sure the guards don't escape. That's one world I play in. I also play in like Freeze Tag and other stuff. There's other fun worlds, and you can play those flat screen. But yeah, it has been about 2 hours. This has been about a 2-hour stream, which I think is a little short, but I would like to take a 5-minute break and go to the bathroom and then jump in and play VR chat with the rest of my friends. And I'm not ready to stream them because it is an 18+ group. There are things that get said in there that I'm not quite ready to have be streamed. I need to figure out how to do the audio where you don't hear them. There's ways to do it. I just haven't figured it out. So I'm Kaz. Thank you guys for watching. I Snort Fridge Mold. Thanks for not only following, subscribing. Thanks to everyone else who did come in and chat. Parker, Tape Tag Tim. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate your subs and follows. If you're watching this on the VOD on YouTube, please check the link in the description below for my Twitch channel. And I will catch you guys all. The problem I have right now is the menu bar. There it is. The menu bar for stream, or for Twitch, or not for stream, for Steam VR was in the way of the end button. So yeah, I'm going to go use the restroom, have a quick snack, and go join the rest of my friends. I will catch you guys all later.